What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Middi with a pocket full of fitties, and we back at it like a crack addict with a bad habit. Now, I have made a severe and repeated lapse in judgment because I kind of ran with the assumption that you guys knew stuff, but as it turns out, some of you are new to stuff. I should be a rapper. Anyway, yeah, so I figured it would probably be good to actually do like a beginners tutorial for FL Studio, because some of you guys are like beginners in the sense that you downloaded FL Studio 5 minutes ago. So I'm gonna go ahead and help get you guys started. So I'm going to go over the main layout. I'm not gonna go over every single button because you don't need to know every single thing right now, and also I don't want this video to be 9 hours long. So we're gonna start off with this thing right here called the channel rack. Now the channel rack is where you're able to make loops, and when you finish the loops you bring them over here to the playlist. Each of these things right here, 808 kick, clap, hi-hat, snare, these slots are where you put the sounds that you are using for the loop that you're on. If you want to create a new loop, that is what this is here for. Pattern 1 basically means loop 1. So let me just lay down some things. This is loop 1. When you scroll up with the mouse, you go to pattern 2. Now you're on a new loop. These things right here are the sounds that you currently have loaded up and that you're currently using. If you click on it, and you press this waveform right here, you can hear the sound that you're currently using. These settings right here, you don't necessarily need to know any of them right this second, but all of these little buttons and knobs do things to change the sound of the sound that you have selected right here. If you don't like these sounds, which these are just the defaults, just so that you have something there. What you do is you go over here to packs, and this is where all of your sounds that you have downloaded into FL Studio are stored. So obviously I have a lot of things here, which you don't have because all of these are things that I had to go download on my own. But what you should have loaded up automatically is Legacy, and let's just swap out the drums with just something else. So let's go hip hop. You can click on each of these to hear a sample of what they sound like. And when you want to bring the sound over into this slot right here, all you have to do is just click and drag. And now that sound has been loaded up. Now, this is a big thing. All of the default sounds within FL Studio sound like hot freaking garbage. And you might be thinking, all of my beats sound terrible, and I think it's because all of these sounds are terrible. Where do I get good sounds from? Well, for that, unfortunately, you do have to go outside of FL Studio and go searching around for other sounds, and these are typically known as sound kits, drum kits, or sound packs. And you're probably wondering, okay, where do I get some good ones from? Well, here's the thing. None of these people are paying me to advertise their stuff for free. So, yeah, self promo. You guys can go to my Ko-fi shop at Middi on the beat. I got the link right here. Anyway, I got a loop kit for drums, and I have a drum kit with all of the sounds that I personally use all of the time. It's only $10, but also I do have free samples of what the sounds sound like. So yeah, I'm gonna download my own thing and use that for the example. So go ahead and download that. All right, and once you have it downloaded, literally all you got to do is click on view content, download, and it downloads. All right, once you have it downloaded, you're going to go ahead and open it up. You're going to ignore WinRAR trying to make you pay for it, because we don't pay for things. All right, so once you have the drum kit open, you're going to click on it, you're going to right click, and you're going to go to extract to a specified folder. You're going to click on that. You're going to go over here, and you're going to go to local disk. You're going to go to program files. You are going to look for Image Line, which is the company that makes FL Studio. You're going to open that up. You're going to go to FL Studio, whatever version you have. You're going to go to data, patches, and you are going to click on packs. Once you click on packs, it's going to bring all of those sound files into the packs folder. which is this folder right here with all of these in it. So you click OK. You're going to get a thing saying, do you want this thing to whatever? You click yeah, it'll go ahead and send the files over there. You can close that out. Now, once you do that, you are going to have to close out FL Studio and then reopen it so that it can load up the new files. But once you come back to packs and you go looking, you should see the drum kit that you just downloaded pop up right there. And you should see all of the sounds that it contains. So let's go ahead and swap these sounds out for something that actually sounds good. Now, with my drum kit, I actually already mixed each of them and added the effects to make them sound good. So literally all of the sounds are just drag and drop. You don't have to mix, add effects, worry about the volume. I already did all of that so that literally you just drag and drop and everything just already sounds good. Download my stuff. Anyway. Enough with the self promo. This thing right here, these little square rectangle things, these are where you're able to lie down where you want to place your drums at. If I click right here, you'll see that this thing lights up. And now once I hit play, which the play button is right here, this is the play, this is stop. You can also play and stop with the space bar. And once I press that, okay, when you download some sound kits, sometimes they have things that went wrong with the export. So sometimes you might have a sound that's repeating itself. You want to turn off use loop points. So once you hit play, you'll see as this thing goes along, it plays every single sound that you have highlighted. So let's make a little simple pattern. And then you just hit play. And that's basically what this thing does. This thing up here, this pattern means that it is playing whatever you have placed in the channel rack. When you switch over to song, it is playing whatever is placed into the playlist. When you want to move your loop into the playlist, all you have to do is make sure that you have the pattern that you're on selected, make sure that it's selected down here, and then all you have to do is make sure that you have this paintbrush selected, and you just click onto the playlist. And you can click and drag and have it copy itself over and over. And then once you want to play it, you just hit the play button. And then if you want to go back to just listening to this pattern, you switch it back to pat, which is short for pattern. This thing up here is what controls the BPM. Now, BPM stands for beats per minute, and basically the simplified version of this is this controls the speed at which your song plays. So if you click and drag down, you'll lower the number, which makes the song slower. And if you drag the number up, it'll make the song faster. Within the channel rack, there are additional settings. So if you right click, you can cut, which will delete whatever you have here. You have copy, which will copy whatever you have, and then paste, which will paste it down. Now, there's this thing called cut itself. What this means is when you have a sound playing and then you have the sound start up again, if you have cut itself on, that means this sound will be completely cut off and then it'll restart once this one hits. If you do not have cut itself turned on, that means if this sound is like a sound that lasts for a long time, it'll play over itself. Sometimes you might want a sound to play over itself, but sometimes you're like, I want this sound to stop immediately. An example of that is with an 808 bass. We'll go ahead and grab an 808. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and grab an 808 and let's just cut all of this so that you can really hear it. Let's just have this pattern. Cut itself is not checked, and you're going to hear that the sound is like playing over itself every time it hits. But once we click cut itself, now the sound will immediately stop and start again once it hits the new note. This is basically everything you need to know to make drums. Now, you might be asking, okay, what about instruments like a piano or a guitar or something? Because obviously, if you just press a thing down, it's like, okay, well, how do I control what notes I want? Or like, how do I create a chord? Let's go ahead and load up an instrument right now just to show you. So let's go ahead and grab the keyboard and let's just grab the close grand. what is going to pop up is this thing, which is known as a VST, which is a virtual sound instrument. Now, this is basically just like the system that controls the actual sound. This thing you don't need to mess with the settings for. Like, basically just out the box, it should already sound like a piano. You don't have to know what these knobs and stuff does. If you mess with it, you're just gonna mess up the way that the piano sounds. So I don't ever mess with these settings. If you want to get to the actual piano, because you don't play with this piano, what you're going to do is you're going to go over to here, and now you have the piano roll. And as you can see, this also has a grid layout, and this grid lines up with this grid. So you can see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces, and then it's 4 repeats, which is the same as 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 4 repeats. If I place this down, you can see that the notes line up with each other. So you're able to keep the timing of the drums with the piano in time with each other. If you want to lay a note down, all you have to do is click on this paintbrush and just place it wherever you want to place it. If you need to adjust the size of the note, all you do is go to the edge of the note until you see this little double-sided arrow, and you can just click and drag to make it smaller or larger. And basically you just lay down whatever notes that you want for your chord. So let's just make something simple. Let's just make a C major. And then if you want to play the sound, all you have to do is spacebar or just a play button up here. And then obviously you can go ahead and add in different notes, add in if you want like a little thing going on here, and basically just do what you do. This thing down here is the velocity, which basically is just the volume. If you click and drag this down, you'll lower the volume. If you bring it up, you'll increase the volume. If you messed up and you want to bring it back to neutral, all you have to do is hold down the Alt key and then click on it, and it'll bring it back to the default volume. Within the piano roll, you have different settings to adjust the notes. I'll show you a couple that you're probably going to want to use pretty often. The strum function. The strum is useful for if you're playing like the guitar, because the way that a guitar works is you don't just hit every single string all at once, right? If you're strumming, your hand is like going from one string to another. You're like playing one string at a time. So to get that same effect, you would put on strum. And as you can see, it like slides the notes over to the right so that now it hits this note, then this note, then this note to give it like a strum effect. So this setting right here, the strength affects how much the notes slide over. So if you have it in the center, basically there's no strum. If you bring it all the way to the right, it's a super long strum. If you bring it all the way to the left, it's a reverse strum where now it hits the high note first and the low note last. All right, my neighbors and their dogs just started being extremely loud out of nowhere. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So the velocity right here controls the volume, like I said, of the notes. And basically the reason why you might want to adjust this is sometimes if you're, like I said, if you're playing guitar and you're strumming, sometimes the first string that you hit, you're going to hit harder than the next couple strings that your finger hits. So if you do like this, the first note gets hit harder, and then the last couple strings don't get hit with as much force, which means the first string is going to be louder than the rest of the strings. So what this knob allows you to do is it makes it so that each new string that gets hit, the volume is slightly lower. All right, so preserve end basically means you want the note to cut off where originally it cut off. If you take off preserve end, that means it'll actually slide the whole entire note and it'll overlap over where it was supposed to end. Normally you wouldn't want that on, which is why preserve end is usually on by default. Alternate direction. Let me go ahead and lay down another chord so that you can see. So alternate direction, again, strum. Okay, alternate direction again is more for guitar, because you know when you're playing a guitar, you would strum down and then strum back up, because you know strumming is like an up down movement. So if you're strumming a guitar, you want to strum down and then you want to strum up. Now alternate directions basically allows you, okay, all right, so this happens sometimes. If you have a singular note selected, you kind of can't do things. So if you have one note selected, all you have to do is just right click until everything is green. Go ahead and try this again. Now, alternate direction, as you can see, both of them are strumming in the same direction. It's going from the low note to the high note. So both of these are down strums. If you do alternate direction, now this is a down strum and an up strum. If you're using a guitar, this is what you would want to have turned on, alternate direction, so that you can get the up-down sound. All right, and that's pretty much all that you really need to know about the Strum. As for the other tools up here, the main ones that you would need to use is this paintbrush, which, as you saw, allows you to lay down notes, adjust them. And also, if you ever need to do repeated notes, all you have to do is just click and drag, and you can keep dragging out more and more notes. If you need to delete a note, all you have to do is right click on it. And if you want to delete multiple notes, all you have to do is hold down right click and then just go over the notes. The other thing that you might want to use is the slice tool, which allows you to slice notes that you have into smaller notes. So all you would have to do that is you would just click and drag and then release, and now it cuts whatever note that you just had. You can also create a strum effect with the slice tool, and all you have to do is do the same thing you did before, except instead of going straight up and down, you would turn it a little bit to the right. And then if you want to get rid of the beginning notes that you see right here, it automatically highlights the part that you sliced. So all you would have to do is press the delete key, and it gets rid of the little notes that were right here. So now all you hear are these notes, so that you hear the strum. The other tool that you would end up using is the select tool, which allows you to click and drag and select specific notes. Like, let's say that you wanted to delete these, you could just select them and then hit delete. Or let's say that you wanted to, let's say, change the volume of just these notes. Or let's say that you want to individually change the volume of these different notes. So you would select these, and now it is only changing these volumes and it's not messing with this one. And then if you select just this one, now you're only adjusting this one's volume. If you have things selected and you want to unselect them, all you have to do is right click on them. If you've ever made a mistake or did something that you didn't mean to do, all you have to do is come up to edit, and you can undo and redo whatever it is that you just did. Now, let's say you've gone through these instruments that you have here and you're just like, okay, I kind of want something different. Well, the way that you would do that is you would go over here and you would right click and you would go to replace. And here you have a whole bunch of other sounds that come preloaded with FL Studio that you can experiment with and listen to the different sounds of. So let's say you want to go to Citrus. So Citrus is another VST, and this one has multiple instruments within it. So you would just need to click on this arrow in the corner, go to presets, and then all of these are different sounds that you can use as a new instrument. Now, let's say you've gone through all of the things that you have here and you're just like, okay, like that's cool, but like, I don't like how any of these sounds. Like, I want something like different. If that is what you want, unfortunately, you are gonna have to download your own VSTs. And unfortunately, I am not a computer programmer, so I could not create my own. So I am gonna have to shell out for somebody else who's not paying me. Okay, so the website I like going to is called Plugins for Free. I go here all the time. They have some pretty good stuff. I've never gotten a virus from any of these things, so they're good people. I'm not sponsored by them. Please sponsor me. Anyway, let's just download an example so that I can show you how to go through the process. Let's say I want City Piano. That seems interesting. As you're going to see, there are multiple different things that you can download. Obviously, if you're on a Mac, you go to Mac. If you're on Windows, you go to Windows. But as you can see with the Windows, there's a Windows 32 and a Windows 64. Now, you probably have no clue what the heck that means, because until I started getting into this whole music and downloading new VST stuff, I had no clue what this meant either. So if you don't know which one you need to download, all you need to do is go to Settings. You want to go to System. You want to go all the way down to About, and you want to come down to where it says System Type. And under here, it says 64-bit operating system. So whatever number you see right here is the one that you need to download. So mine says 64, so that means I need to download 64. You want to make sure that you're downloading the same number, because if you download a different number than what your computer says, there can be like problems with your computer actually loading up the program. So always go with the number that you have. So all you've got to do is just click download, wait for that to finish. Okay, and whenever you download it, all you want to do is open it up. You want to select whatever's in there, and then you want to right click, and you want to go same thing that we did before. You want to extract to a specified folder, and this folder is going to be in a different spot than the last one. So you're going to go to local disk. You want to go to program files. You want to go to image line, same as before. FL Studio, whichever version you have. I have 21. And instead of going to data, you're going to go to plugins. You're going to go to Fruity, and you are going to go to generators. So the effects folder is the VSTs that add like effects to your sounds, and generators are the VSTs that actually create the sounds. So you want to put it in generators, and then you hit OK. It's going to say, do you want this app to make changes? It's going to go ahead and start loading. All right. And then once it's finished, it should be in FL Studio. Now, how do I actually get that thing loaded into where I want it? What you're going to do is you're going to right click on where you want to put it, replace. You're going to click on more plugins. You're going to go to manage plugins. What you're going to do is you're going to see this button on the top left that says find installed plugins. You're going to click on that, and as you can see, it says it's scanning, and it's scanning in the Fruity generators folder and also other folders. And it's basically looking for what programs you have that are labeled as VSTs, and it's loading them up. Now, as you can see, there is a lot of different VSTs loaded in. So how the heck are you supposed to know which one is the one that you just downloaded? Well, whenever you download a new file, the ones that are old are going to be labeled in white, and whatever is new that hasn't already been installed in the program is going to be highlighted in yellow. So all you need to do is scroll until you see yellow. Right there, City Piano. Now, the way that you actually make sure that it's installed and that you can actually use it is you want to make sure that you click on this star, and this star is highlighted yellow. That means that the program is now active. And now that you've done that, all you have to do is X out, right click, go to replace, and now you should see it somewhere in here. Right here, City Piano. Let it load up, and now you have the new sound loaded up into FL Studio. Any VST that you download, you will go through that same process. Okay, so for this next lesson, I'm gonna have to make like a quick little simple beat so that I can actually show off what I'm trying to show off. So I will be right back.
Cook it up, cook it up, cook it up, whoa.
Okay, so here's the beat that I made. I wasn't too worried about making it sound good. I just needed something to use as an example. So this is what I've got right now. So let's say you're working on your beat and you're like, you know, I kind of want to add some like effects to it. Like, let's say you want to add like reverb onto the piano. What you want to do is you want to bring up the mixer rack. So to do that, you go to this button right here that has the two rectangles with the lines coming out, and that will bring up the mixer rack. Now, what the mixer rack allows you to do is add effects onto your different sounds. So you'll see that there is a bunch of these things called inserts. Insert 1, 2, 3, 4. And as you may have noticed, every single sound that you have loaded into your channel rack has a number on it. These numbers correlate to these numbers on the mixer rack. So this one is insert 1, this 2 is insert 2. So in order to get each of these sounds into the mixer rack, because as you can see, once you have more than just the 4 that came by default, these don't actually have numbers on it. Now, you could manually change every number by using the mouse scroll wheel. However, if you have a bunch of sounds, that's kind of just a waste of time. So a quick way to do this is you want to double click on the first box right here, and you want all of these highlighted in green. And then what you want to do is you want to click on insert one, and on the keyboard, you want to hold down Control Shift L. And what that's going to do is it is going to automatically assign every single sound to its own mixer track, and it's going to do it all in numerical order. So 1 2 3 4 5 6, 1 2 3 4 5 6, and it's also going to label it whatever this was labeled. With the mixer rack, if you want to select only one singular sound, what you can do is you want to right click on this little circle, and it's going to mute everything except for this one sound. If you want to unmute everything, you right click on it again. This thing is the volume, so bringing this down lowers the volume, bringing it up increases the volume, and if you want to reset it to where it was originally, you just right click on this thing and you press reset. Now this knob right here controls the panning, and basically what that means is where in your headphones you hear the sound. So let's play the piano. So if you pan it all the way to the left, you're only going to hear it in the left side of your headphones. And if you pan it right, you're only going to hear it in the right side of your headphones. And then you can right click and hit reset to put it back in the middle. What this thing is the stereo separator. So if you move this all the way to the right, there's no separation in the audio. And if you move it to the left, there's full stereo separation. With this piano VST, you don't really hear a difference. So let's go ahead and add an effect, which will make it sound a little bit more noticeable. So if you want to add an effect, all you do is go to slot 1, slot 2, whichever slot is available. You want to click on it. And then these are all of the different effects that you have available. So let's say we want to add reverb. So Fruity Reverb 2. With reverb, because this isn't really a reverb tutorial, but just know there's a bunch of like different knobs and settings here. I don't usually mess with those. I'll go to a preset which has different effects that it gives you. So let's just say we want Cathedral, because that's going to give us the most reverb. So when we have the reverb on, you can go ahead and play it, and then we can hear what that sounds like. So you can hear the reverb. This knob right here controls how strong the effect is. So if you have it all the way filled in, that means it has the maximum amount of reverb. If you bring it all the way to the left, that means it has no reverb. And then this is half strength reverb, full strength reverb. So you can go ahead and listen. Now, this is going to help us better hear the stereo separation. So again, no separation sounds like this. And then full stereo separation sounds like this. What I usually use stereo separation for is if I have a bunch of instruments playing at the same time, I'll put them all at different levels of separation so that it gives off the effect that the sounds are coming from different locations. Like if you've ever seen like an orchestra, like everyone's not standing in one spot. The person playing violin is like over there, and then the person playing drums is over there, and then the tuba player is over there, and then the trumpet player is over there, and the saxophonist is over there. Like they're all in different spots. And the reason for that is if all the sounds sound like they're coming from the exact same location, they're going to sound like crowded. Like it's going to sound like there's too much happening all at once. And in order to stop that from happening, you want to stereo separate your different sounds. I forgot to go over this earlier, but these knobs over here, this knob is the volume knob. If you bring it left, it brings down the volume. If you bring it right, it brings up the volume of whatever sound you have loaded in here. If you want to reset it, right click, reset. This knob is also the same as this knob right here. It's a panning knob. So you move it to the left, it's in your left ear, move it to the right, it's in your right ear. Right click, reset. This button does the same thing that this button does, where you can right click it and you can click solo, and now every sound other than the one that you selected is muted, so you only hear this sound. Now let's say you're like, okay, I have my loop set up, but I don't want all of these sounds always playing at the same time. Like maybe you're like, I want to do like the intro for like the beat build up, and maybe I only want the piano and the claps going, and then I want to add in the hi-hats, and then I want to add in the kicks. The way that you would do that is you want to separate each of these different instruments into their own pattern. And the way that you do that is you go up here to where it says pattern, you click on this little arrow, and you go to split by channel. And once you do that, every single individual sound is now in its own pattern. So now when you drag it over to the playlist, you'll see every single sound is now its own playlist, and you can individually lay down each sound that you want. So let's say you want to start off with the piano, and then you want to add in the claps, and then after that you want to add in the hi-hats. And then also, if you want to resize this, you grab this thing on the right corner until you see the double arrows, and then just click and drag, and you can zoom in, zoom out. You have the same tools that you had for the piano roll. You have the paint tool, which allows you to repeatedly paint the same pattern over and over. You have the slice tool to slice them into different parts, and you have the select tool to select individual pieces. So let's say like you had like a chorus, and then you had like a verse, and then you want to repeat the chorus and verse, and you don't want to have to sit there and like individually lay down each piece. You can just select the whole thing, and then go ahead and go to edit and go to copy, and then you would paste it. Or you could do Control C on the keyboard and then Control V on the keyboard. And now you'll see that it pops up here, and then all you got to do is click and drag it over to where you want. Whenever you paste, the whole entire thing will be selected in red, so you can move every piece all at once. But the thing is, once you select anything else and this is no longer red, now all of these are individual things again. So as I showed you over here, you can copy and paste, and you can cut, and you can also undo and redo. Another thing that I absolutely have to cover in this tutorial is sampling, because loading in samples is something that you need to know how to do properly if you're going to be the type of producer who likes working with samples. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in a sample. All right, I got a sample right here. Pretty much all you need to do is just click and drag whatever sound file that you have over into the playlist, and then it'll just load itself up. You press play, make sure that it's set to song. Something that you will immediately notice is if you change the BPM, your file is going to stretch and squish so that it continues playing at the same speed regardless of whatever you have the tempo set to. So as you'll see, if I increase the tempo, it's going to stretch out. If I decrease the tempo, it's going to shrink. That may be something that you want to happen. That may not be something that you want to happen. You might want to increase the BPM and actually want the sample to speed up. Like you might be going for like the Kanye West like chipmunk effect with the sample. If that's what you want and you want it to stop stretching and squishing whenever you change the speed, what you're going to do is you're going to go to Tools up in the corner. You're going to go to Macros. You're going to go to Switch All Audio Clips to, and you're going to select real-time stretching. You didn't get this warning, ignore that. Basically what this does is it makes sure that no matter what you do with the BPM, this file is not going to move. So as you'll see, I'm increasing the BPM, and now the file has not stretched and is actually going to play faster. And then obviously if I decrease the speed, then it's going to play slower. And then if I set it back to where it was, obviously it's going to be the same speed. That's something that's very important when you're bringing in samples. Just make sure that that doesn't do that. If later you find out that you actually do want it to squash and stretch, what you are going to do is you're going to double click on this, and this thing that says time, you see how it's all the way loaded in like it's orange? What you're going to do is click and drag it all the way down, so that now the time is turned off. Now, whenever you change the BPM, now it'll start stretching and squashing again. That's pretty much the basics. Obviously, there's more things that you would need to know for sampling, but that could be a whole tutorial on its own. So let me know if you guys want a tutorial on sampling, like chopping up samples, making sure that the samples are actually playing correctly. Let me know if you guys want that. But let's say that you have your beat going, and then let's say that now you want to save this. You want to go to File, and your options are you can save or save as. If you don't know the difference, save means that you're going to save whatever you just did. Save as means that it's going to create a new save file. Now, this is useful if you start off by opening up a save file and you like change the song to the point where it's like, this is now a completely different song than it was originally. And you're like, I want to save this new thing that I made, but I don't want to delete the original thing that I had. You would want to do save as so that you still have the original file saved, but you also now have this new file with the new changes that you made. For export, you're going to see a whole bunch of different options for audio formats that you can save in. Now, you might be overwhelmed, like, okay, why is there so many files? How do I know which one to use? For me, I only ever use two, WAV file and MP3 file. Now you're probably wondering, what the heck is the difference? A WAV file is a higher quality audio format, but the problem is it is a very large file size. And with an MP3, it is lower audio quality, but it's a smaller file size. Now, the way that you determine when to use which, well, what I like to do is, like, let's say that I'm working on something and I plan to use it as a sample and another beat. When I save that, I will export that as a WAV file. When it's a finished product, like this is the final song, I'll save it as an MP3 file, because places like SoundCloud or like Spotify or really anywhere, they really don't like having large file sizes. So it's better if you use an MP3, because the thing with an MP3 is it might be lower quality than a WAV file, but it's not so low quality that you're actually going to hear that it's lower quality. Like an MP3 is like kind of like the balance of, this is the smallest we can get the file size before you start to hear like this doesn't sound right. And then, like I said, WAV files I'm pretty much always going to use if I'm working on something that I'm going to use as a sample or a loop in another song. Because if I was to save that as an MP3 file and then load that into the new song and then save that as an MP3, that's when you're gonna start to hear that this song doesn't sound as like crisp and clear as it did within the actual program. That's the difference between a WAV and an MP3 and when you would want to use either or. If you want to export the actual file, so we'll go ahead and MP3. So we'll just name this whatever. Go ahead and click save. And then you're going to get this prompt box with a bunch of different options. You can select that you want to save it as a WAV. You can say you want to save it as an MP3. You can say I want to save it as a WAV and an MP3 and select both. As far as what the rest of these buttons do, you don't really need to mess with these. I would say whatever numbers you see here are pretty much whatever you need. For mode, you can select, do I want to export this whole entire song in the playlist, or do I want to only save whatever pattern I'm on? So right now I have the kick selected. So if I export, I am only exporting the kick loop. Full song, I'm exporting the whole entire song as a whole. Tail cut remainder. That basically means whenever the last sound on this playlist plays, I want you to immediately stop the song. With leave remainder, that basically means if you have a sound playing that has like reverb on it or like an echo, that means that the song isn't gonna stop until that echo stops. For quality, I would just leave these settings how they are. And then miscellaneous. Save loop markers. That was the thing that was causing us problems before, where sounds would loop over and over even if you didn't actually press anything. So you want to turn that off. All of these things you want enabled. Enable insert effects. That basically means all the reverb and stuff that you added to your song, do you want to keep that? Obviously we do, because that's why we added it. Enable master effects. Yes, because if you added it, you probably want it there. Trim PDC silence. So when you save a file and you don't have this on, for some reason it's like a buffer or like a delay before your sound, before the song starts. So it'll be like a second of like quietness, like empty space, and then the song will play. And if you put on trim PDC silence, it's going to trim that like 1 second lag of silence. Split mixer tracks. If you want to export each of these different sounds on their own, you would press split mixer tracks. So now every single individual sound will now be its own audio file. If you have split mixer tracks off, that means you are saving the song as a whole. And that's pretty much it. After you get all of the settings set the way that you want, you just press start and then it'll export your song. That's pretty much it. Once you know all of these things, you're pretty much good to go. Now, obviously, there's still more like specifics about things to do with FL Studio and like music making, but that's going beyond just like the intro basics. As far as getting started, that's pretty much all you need to know. And then you can just go ahead and just start experimenting with what I taught you. And then obviously if you want more specific things, I have more tutorials on the channel. So hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you found this useful. If there's any more tutorials that you guys want to see, please let me know in the comments. If you have any feedback, if you hated this video, let me know. And if you didn't hate the video and you actually enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.